Our discussion is focused on a topic that's both timely and crucial: surviving long-term grid failure. As we've seen in recent years, our modern world relies heavily on the electrical grid. But what happens if the grid fails? Not just for a few hours, but for days, weeks, or even months. With winter coming, we're going to explore this scenario in depth, covering practical strategies that will help you prepare, survive, and even thrive during a long-term grid failure. 1. Understanding the implications of long-term grid failure. First, let's talk about what a long-term grid failure actually means. Imagine life without electricity for an extended period. No lights, no refrigeration, no internet, no running water, no heating or cooling. The causes could be varied: a cyber attack, an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, a massive solar flare, or natural disasters like hurricanes or wildfires. During the Texas winter storm in February 2021, millions were left without power for days. The lack of electricity led to widespread food and water shortages, and tragically, some people even lost their lives. This example shows just how vulnerable our infrastructure can be. 2. Energy alternatives. So, what can we do if the grid goes down? One of the most important strategies is to have alternative energy sources. Solar power systems. Installing solar panels with battery storage can be a lifesaver. Even if the grid fails, you can keep essential devices running. A well-sized system could power your refrigerator, lights, and communications devices for days on end. Generators. A fuel-powered generator is another option. During Hurricane Sandy in 2012, those with generators were able to keep their homes running while others were in the dark. Make sure to have enough fuel stored safely and know how to operate your generator properly. Wind and hydropower. If you live in a windy area or near a flowing water source, consider small-scale wind turbines or micro-hydro systems as additional power sources. Practical takeaway: invest in alternative energy solutions now, before you need them. Even a small solar setup or a portable generator can make a huge difference during a grid failure. 3. Water supply and purification. Next, let's talk about water. Without electricity, water treatment plants can fail, and water distribution can stop entirely. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, some communities experienced disruptions in water services due to staffing shortages. Imagine if these disruptions were long-term and widespread. Water storage. Start by storing a minimum of 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 2 weeks. That's just for drinking. Consider storing more for cooking and sanitation. Water collection. Set up a rainwater harvesting system. A basic setup can collect hundreds of gallons during a single rainstorm, which can be used for gardening, flushing toilets, or even drinking if properly treated. Purification. Always have a way to purify water. Portable water filters, iodine tablets, or even boiling water can remove harmful pathogens. In areas prone to flooding, like during Hurricane Katrina, many people found themselves without clean water for days. Practical takeaway: don't wait for the tap to run dry. Start storing water and invest in purification methods now. 4. Food security and preservation. Food is another critical area that's severely impacted by long-term grid failure. Without power, refrigeration stops, and perishable foods quickly spoil. Stockpiling. Non-perishables. Focus on non-perishable foods that can be stored for long periods. Rice, beans, canned vegetables, and pasta are staples that can last for years when stored properly. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, we saw how quickly store shelves could empty out, leaving people without access to basic foods. Growing your own food. Consider starting a garden if you haven't already. Crops like potatoes, carrots, and beans are hardy and store well. During World War II, victory gardens were crucial for supplementing food rations. Today, a home garden can be just as vital in a grid-down scenario. Food preservation. Learn to preserve your own food. Canning, drying, and fermenting are all methods that don't require electricity. After Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017, many residents who had preserved food were able to survive the weeks-long blackout without outside help. Alternative cooking methods. When the power goes out, so does your electric stove. Propane stoves, solar ovens, and rocket stoves can keep you cooking. During the California blackouts of 2019, many families turned to these methods to prepare their meals. Practical takeaway. Start building a stockpile of non-perishable foods, learn to grow your own, and familiarize yourself with food preservation techniques. 5. Heating, cooling, and shelter. Heating and cooling your home is a major concern during a long-term grid failure. Heating solutions. If the grid goes down in winter, how will you stay warm? A wood stove can be a lifesaver, providing both heat and a way to cook food. Make sure you have enough wood stored and know how to safely use your stove indoors. In hotter climates, focus on passive cooling techniques. These might include using heavy curtains to block out the sun, creating cross-ventilation by opening windows on opposite sides of your home, or even using an earth shelter if you have access to one. 6. Health and medical preparedness. Healthcare becomes more complicated without electricity. During grid failures, hospitals and medical facilities may be overwhelmed or shut down, and accessing medication could become difficult. If you rely on prescription medications, discuss with your doctor how you can safely stockpile an emergency supply. First aid kits should be comprehensive, including not just basic bandages and antiseptics, but also tools for more serious injuries like sutures, splints, and burn treatments. If someone in your household has specific medical needs, make sure you have the necessary supplies and know how to manage them without professional help. 7. Security and defense. In a prolonged grid-down situation, law enforcement might be stretched thin, leading to an increase in crime. Securing your home is essential. Reinforce doors and windows, and consider installing battery-powered alarms or motion detectors. Personal defense is another consideration. Whether it's learning self-defense techniques or legally obtaining and training with a firearm, being able to protect yourself and your family is important. 8. Communication and information. Staying informed and in touch with others will be challenging without the grid. Battery-powered or hand-crank radios are essential for receiving news and weather updates. CB radios, walkie-talkies, or ham radios can help you stay connected with family, neighbors, or emergency services. During Hurricane Maria in 2017, Puerto Rico was left without power, and many residents relied on these alternative communication methods to receive vital information. 9. Bartering and resource management. In a long-term grid-down situation, money might become less valuable, and bartering could take its place. Skills, tools, and extra supplies like food or water could become valuable currency. Think about what you can offer and what you might need to trade for. Additionally, managing your resources wisely will be crucial. Rationing food, water, and fuel will help ensure your supplies last as long as possible. 10. Community and psychological resilience. Finally, remember that no one can survive a long-term grid failure alone. Building strong relationships within your community will be vital for sharing resources, skills, and support. Forming or joining a prepper group can provide a network of like-minded individuals who can help each other in times of need. Equally important is maintaining mental and emotional resilience. The stress of a long-term crisis can take a toll on anyone. Establish routines, set small goals, and find ways to maintain morale, whether it's through hobbies, religious practices, or simply spending time with loved ones. Remember, it's not a matter of if the grid will fail, but when. Being prepared could make all the difference. Talking about being prepared, have you wondered what would be better for you and your family, bugging in or bugging out? Check out this video.